So welcome to a very special episode. I have not seen this man for 22 years. And he is here, and he is Rob's brother, Gord. We'll call you Gord Man. We can call you Gord Man. It's amazing. I've been so looking forward to having you on the show. And when you showed up today, I'm like, I haven't seen you in like 22 years. This is
we didn't have beards.
We didn't have beards.
Yeah, you had slightly longer hair.
Yeah, at the time and all that, and glasses are here now.
Yeah,
we've aged a little bit. Just a little bit. We both got married. We had children. There's been a lot happening.
Just a little bit.
And
we became adults.
We became adults, sadly. But today we're going to talk about when we were not adults and we were younger. We first met, and you were going to kind of put the pieces together on an old puzzle from back in 1987 and 88. Okay, I'm going to say this to you. Do you remember when we first met? I do, and I don't know if you remember.
First meeting.
Yeah.
My guess would probably be at JD and Jamie's place or somewhere in that. No.
I remember. So down the road from me, there was two brothers, JD and Jamie. They were awesome guys. And JD came over to my house one day, knocked on the front door, and you were with him.
Oh, we went over to your place. Yes, okay.
That's right.
That I kind of remember, right? Because you were just up and around the corner.
Yeah, and it was so fun. This is like 32 years. This is 1987 we're talking about here. And I remember one thing. Why we all connected was we were talking about G.I. Joes. But I remember this so very well. And we were talking about guys who played with G.I. because we all like enjoyed G.I. Joes. But there were some guys who took it way too seriously. And that they would actually get their characters to lift weights and pretend to actually physically, get ready for, to go out for war and all that. So all this stuff, they had like little routines of running. And I remember you were crying on the ground. And I was like, and we were all laughing so much. And then after that, we kind of had this bond. We're all kind of friends. And I want to hear something. This is a big deal. This is the biggest deal ever. Because it has to do with my favorite game of all time. And you were there.
Yeah.
You were there to pick it up. And I have it. Here, listen.
You've got the original.
I got the original. My favorite copy. Phantasy Star right here. Which the Cato's brought back from.
That's not the actual copy, is it? That's the actual copy that we got in Bellingham?
Listen. And America, all are the originals.
Those are the originals?
All the originals.
Holy
all the originals.
Crap. I thought these were gone to the sands of time.
No.
Oh my God, look at that.
I know, isn't that amazing? Isn't that amazing? And
dude.
So this is the summer of 1988 I always talk about as being like one of my legendary summers.
That was a hell of a summer.
Yeah,
it really was.
Yeah, and I want to hear about all. This is so I got the hand-me-downs. James.
How did you get those from?
He sold this to another guy. And I bought it off that guy for $10. And I remember skateboarding home, and I was like, "Finally, I can play this game! Finally, I can play this game." Back then, and it was remarkable. Tell me about that trip because it's so nostalgic for me. I've never heard this before.
Well, so Jamie and JD, the brothers, had a Sega Master System console, and which was pretty cool because everybody else had Nintendos. So they had this system, and we, of course, were obsessed with video game magazines. We're constantly poring over stuff. I wasn't a huge fan of EGM. I didn't quite like the writing as much, but we still bought and read them all the time. Anything we could get our hands on, we would look at.
Yeah.
And somehow we got some information about this new game coming out called Phantasy Star. And this is the first time I ever remember learning about like launch days, like even with whether it was like Zelda or Mario or any of those
things that used to come out.
Nowadays, like it's just, of course, the launch date of the new Gears of War, the new whatever. But we didn't, that wasn't a thing for us. Like you just walked into a store and like, oh, there's a cool game, let's try that. Or you go to the rental place and you'd see something, let's try that.
Basically, you'd rent it back then.
Well, of course, you rent all the time. So. But we found out that this new game called Phantasy Star was coming out. It's a role-playing game, and it was going to take a long time to finish. And it was summer, and we had new driver's licenses, and we're like, we're not getting it in Canada. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Sorry, what?
Yeah.
And so we're like, how the hell are we going to get a hold of this thing? It's not coming into Vancouver. Like, we can't find anywhere that's going to sell it.
Yeah.
And so I don't remember who it was of us. We were all hanging out in their basement, as we always did, just playing games on their C64 or their Master System or whatever. And then somebody said, well, why don't we go down to the States to get it? Because they're going to have it in the States before we get it.
It was always down in the States first,
And around that time was when the huge new mall in Bellingham had opened up, Bellis Fair Mall.
Yes.
And so we decided, well, we got driver's licenses, and the Catos have a camper van that we could take.
That was a legendary camper van,
this insane all half of our sleepovers were in that camper van.
Yeah.
And so, got a lot of Games of Axis and Allies in that back of that camper van.
Yeah. And Shogun.
Oh my God, yeah.
Play that all the time.
So we decided and went and asked Mr. and Mrs. Cato, could we borrow the camper van and then go down to Bellingham?
Wow.
As a bunch of like, I think we were like just turned 17 at the time.
No.
Was 16.
No, you must have been 16. I was like 13, 14.
Oh God, it was. So it was right after JD got his license then.
Yeah, I believe that.
He got his first. I got mine a
little
little
bit later. Because Gord's a few years older than me and all that. Yeah.
So we decided, okay, we're gonna go down. So we packed up, a couple cooler boxes and the refrigerator in the camper with food and stuff. And we found a camping ground down in Bellingham that we could park in, and it had power.
Yeah.
So that was the important thing. We needed to be able to plug in the vehicle.
Right.
And we had a CRT screen and the master system. We loaded that into the back. And
so that came with you?
Oh, hell yes.
Oh, this is absolutely amazing.
No. You're not going to go down there and go camping for 3 days and just look at this box. And just sit there going, ooh, plastic.
Well, it's
circuit board. No, dude, we took the whole system with us. So
I can't believe it.
We had the CRT, we had the system, we had the 2 controllers, because we thought, well, if one of them breaks, we got to have another one on hand.
As a backup.
And so we, and so what we did was we drove across the border. Way easier to do in those days. Like, you didn't passport or anything.
Like, okay,
you just went across and like, what are you guys doing? Oh, we're just going down to get a new video game. Like, the guy, it's like, sorry, what? He says, well, it's not releasing in Canada yet, so we're going to go down to the mall and go buy this video game. And I go, yeah, whatever, go. So we went through. So there were, let's see.
Who
I
came
remember
with you?
correctly.
Who came with you?
It was JD,
yeah,
Jamie, I'm going to say maybe Ashley.
Yeah.
It might have been Ashley in those days who came with us.
Wow.
I'm trying to remember. I think that was probably the group of us. And so we went down.
Tell me this. I get to, because this is my holy grail.
Yeah.
I've said if I lose all my video games, this is the one game that I would keep. Tell me about this walking to the store.
So what we did was, like I said, we parked, we got the thing all set up, and then we found out where a parking spot was going to be and all this stuff. Then hit the washroom and then straight to the mall. And went to the mall, parked in the back 40 because we got this bloody great camper van thing that we got to park.
Yeah.
And walked into the mall and wandered around looking for the shop that would have games in it because we had no idea.
Because back then
there's no internet. You can't find out what shops are in which malls and stuff.
There wasn't really dedicated video game stores. There was like computer stores you'd go.
Yeah, so you might like
Us.
Egghead Software in Richmond or places like that, but they wouldn't have console games. Console games were either in department stores, toy stores, places like that. And so we found it in what the hell? It was, I think it was a toy store.
Yeah.
We went into the toy store in Bellis Fair Mall. I don't remember a lot about it. I remember going in and being shocked at the price.
Was it $99 US?
Oh, something like that, yeah. And now the Canadian dollar was stronger back then. It was probably about 86 cents to the dollar or something like that. But still, it was. I think it worked out to over $110 or something like that.
Take that for prices. We're talking like 1988.
Yeah, that's $110 of 1988 dollars. Yeah. So JD and Jamie picked it up. They were the ones who were buying it. It was their game.
Yes, of course.
There was no question about it. They were buying it. Yeah. So they put in their money. They bought it. We got back into the car. And we're driving back to the campsite. We're not wasting any time. We're going straight back to the campsite. We popped this sucker open.
Yeah.
I think JD was driving, so Jamie popped it open because he was the brother.
Yeah.
And then, of course, all of us are leaning over his shoulder trying to look at this. Like, the instruction book was, instruction books were a big deal. So I always had a policy. I always read instruction books from front to back before I touched a game.
Yeah.
Never played a game before I read the whole thing. Drove my brother nuts.
Yeah.
He hated that. And I'm like, no, man, I want to know what I'm doing before I get in there.
That's funny, yeah.
But that meant that he always played before I did. But I was okay with that.
Yeah.
But Usually. Anyways, so
did you get this?
So he had this thing where we're going through this book as we're driving back to the campground.
That's why it's so worn now.
It is really worn.
Really worn.
And you'll know why it's really worn.
I can show everybody.
More so,
look how worn down this is. A very, very
Some of that damage was done on that trip.
Yes.
And I'll explain why. So what happened was we got back to the campsite. It's getting to evening. We've got to get some dinner going and stuff like that. So we start doing some stuff.
This is kind of an adventure for you guys.
Oh, it totally was. We'd never done anything like this.
No, it's pretty
never
big.
had done anything like this.
For younger guys to go to the States, buy a game, camp out.
And, most people would do that, and they would bring beers and all that sort of stuff. Even at 16, they might do that. But we were so nerdy. There was no way. So we were pouring over this thing. JD gets the van hooked up to the power and stuff. He starts... No. Yes. Okay. So he's like, okay, we got to make some food. We got to be sort of semi-responsible at this. We got to eat something. Yeah. We just had like packaged ramen and stuff. Like it wasn't anything big deal. But it's a one-player game. Mm-hmm. Who's playing first? And we're like, well, it's obviously going to be one of the Katos.
Yeah.
Sort of. So what we did was we rock, paper, scissors for it.
No, you didn't.
Anyway,
no.
JD won, of course.
Of course.
But I'm pretty sure he took the first round. So what we worked out was that each person would get 1 hour. And there were enough save slots that we could each have our own save slot.
Wow, I remember
And so what
this.
we would do is the person would play for an hour. The other 3 would watch while they're playing. Then it was the next person's shift. They had to go back to their save. So for the first 4 shifts, everybody had to start from the beginning of the game. We didn't use one save all the way through. Everybody wanted their own save and their own decisions. You gotta
admit, these two brothers were very generous to let you guys.
Super generous.
Yeah, to enjoy this game.
Super
as well.
competitive, but also super generous.
Everybody's trying to get further. I saw what you did.
So what happened was, so we would watch, but that was part of the plan, is that we would watch what the other person had done, so that we knew that on our run, we would be able to progress a little farther because we knew how to get through stuff.
Yeah.
And we knew this enemy's going to be weak to this or weak to that, and so we know how to prep to go into the battles and things like that. So we would every single shifts you would progress some, and so we would keep going, and we were so we got a whole long weekend. We're gonna try and get through this thing.
Long weekend.
So we were down there for 2 nights.
So you were playing Phantasy Star in a van in the United States for the first time for the entire weekend.
For 48 hours that machine was running. And we were taking shifts all through the night. We would wake the other people up to come up and play when it was their 3 a.m. shift or whatever.
Oh, you kidding?
No
way.
No, it was
that
insane.
That is so nerdy. It's amazing.
Super insane. So
I love it.
Taking shifts, playing all night.
Yeah.
When you weren't playing, if they were in one of the early sections of their, if they were in the first 20, 30 minutes of their run, then they're not going to have progressed far enough to get to anywhere new.
Of course, yeah.
So we would go over to they had a couple of arcade games in the campsite, cabin, whatever, where you logged in and stuff like that. Logged in. Where you checked in and stuff like that. Jesus Christ. Yeah. So, and they had a pool table and stuff, and so we would go play some pool or play some video games. We were playing video games all bloody weekend. But anyways, make some food, have snacks. We had all kinds of crazy snacks and stuff. Yeah. But the whole weekend was us sitting in this tarmac gravel campsite, playing this thing. And once in a while, we would move it outside onto like a camp table. Yeah. And we'd be sitting there playing the game, and then when it was nighttime, we didn't want to bug out the campers around us, so we'd move it inside the truck, and so we'd be sitting there playing. It was dumb. It was really dumb, but it was super fun.
Can I ask a question then? What was it like seeing the game for the first time? Because
that was nuts. Well, I mean,
we have to describe to people because I've been going on about
this all the time.
For years I've been talking about this one game. You had to be there at the time. There was no JRPGs.
Not really. No. This was
the first big really graphical.
Anything else that come out that we saw?
No.
I'm trying to think if there was maybe something on the C64 that had come across.
There was Dungeons and Dragons on the Atari.
Aklabeth, or you would have some of those old I guess the first Ultima or 2 had come out by this point. Those were on a computer.
Right.
So in terms of console, this was a totally revolutionary experience. And so going through the dungeon, so we had stacks of graph paper.
Yeah.
Because we were mapping all the dungeons as we were going through.
Did you share the map?
Oh yeah, no, we shared that.
You guys
so one person would actually be doing the driving, and the other person, oftentimes it was JD, because he was quite good at drawing and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so he would be drawing the map as we were going through. Yeah. And so we would know where to go. And so if you were the first person into a dungeon, you knew you probably weren't going to get through the whole thing in your hour shift.
Yeah.
So you would just like map it with JD or whoever it was that was doing the mapping on the graph paper, so that then when the next person came in, you would know where to go.
Right.
And so, like I said, it really sped up the later runs as people were going through.
It's so wild, yeah.
But like, dude, this was an anime game. Like that was like, so we never called it anime. It was Japanimation. It was a Japanimation game.
You called it Japanimation.
I know.
I called it anime.
Well, you had a real funny pronunciation of it, but yes.
Yeah.
At the time. But exactly, right?
But in '88, to see anime in a video game, in anything, like it was
so hard. Like,
and you got it on the Master System. You'd see that in other games like Zillion and all of that, and even in
later on,
like Miracle Warriors, you could see a bit of Ease.
We didn't even know how to pronounce that.
No, we called
Wise. Is it Wise?
Exactly.
Is it East? Is it Yes? Or is it like, what the hell is it?
We didn't because there was there was nobody to correct us.
Yeah.
Now we have the comment section. Whenever
somebody's going to correct you.
You will be corrected instantaneously now, which is really, really nice. And so you guys enjoyed this weekend.
Hell yeah. We had a blast and we didn't finish it. So we got... Jesus, where did we get to? I don't even remember. It's been so long since I played that game. So we got to whatever point, and then we had to check out.
Did you get to like Dezoris or like the?
Like I said, I haven't played it since then.
Yeah. Well, remember, say there was a desert planet.
There were different planets.
Yeah.
And
it's been a long time for you.
We got to the last
Dezoris
planet.
It was the ice planet.
We had just gotten to the last planet when we had to leave.
Right.
And so we all loaded up into the truck, drove back through the border, back up to Vancouver, and what was the first thing that happened was we unloaded the truck, because, we wanted to say thanks to Mr. and Mrs. Cato for letting us take the truck and stuff, so we cleaned that thing out, aired it out, because, like, 4 teenage boys in there for the entire weekend.
That must have been ridiculous.
Oh my god, like... Dude, when we had our Dungeons & Dragons games in my kitchen, in my dining room and stuff back at my place back in the day, we had to air out the house the next day. It was teenage boys are
sweaty boys.
Oh god, and arguing all bloody night.
We're gonna get into the D&D stuff.
But for this one, like, so we got back, cleaned out the truck.
Yeah.
I went home to go sleep because I kind of hadn't slept for like 2.5 days or something like that. Went home and who was that guy who he lived between you and the Catos?
Andrew?
He had no, it wasn't Andrew. He was right next door to the Catos. Further along, he was
Ryan?
kind of an ass.
Ryan.
I
won't say his last name.
Yeah, so Ryan came over.
He was annoying.
Oh my
god.
Anyways, but he always hung out, and he came over.
Oh no.
And JD and Jamie sat down and started playing again. And so the whole thing was, could we get this thing finished before the end of the weekend? And so I went home, slept. Next day, I came over to their place, and they'd finished the game.
Whoa.
And I don't think I ever did finish it. I never did get around to getting through that last chunk, because they told us what had happened, and I saw one of them had a save pretty close to the end, so they replayed the final battle for me.
Yeah.
And I don't remember if Ash was there or not. But anyways, we watched them do that final battle, and like one of my biggest memories of the whole thing was, so one of the things about this game is that when you're in the battles, of course, you see your attack on the enemy, like a slash of a sword or whatever. But then when you get that damn cat, and you get the claw marks, the 4 of us just about fell out of our chairs. We thought that was the coolest goddamn thing, because we figured it'd be just the same mark for whatever weapon, for whatever you're
generic.
doing. No, dude, they had like unique attacks for each character and stuff.
And then the spell attacks would go out.
Oh my god, that just really blew our minds.
So the funny thing is, this. So our story's finally. I gotta say,
because you came over.
I will.
I was gonna say you must have come over that next day.
But here's the thing: since it's been 32 years, my thoughts on you guys is going down. I thought you went with his parents.
No.
They stayed in a hotel for a day or two, and you guys slept in the camper, and then you got the game and you come back.
Not as I remember. I mean, maybe, I don't think so. No, I'm pretty sure it was just the 4 of us.
No, it was you. Yeah. No, but I didn't know this story until today. So this is fascinating. And what happened for me
is... This is a hysterical artifact, this thing.
It is.
It's a totally hysterical artifact.
Yeah, it's historic. It's crazy.
Yeah.
But what happened is, I remember seeing commercials back then. I said 1,000 times, I won't go over it. And then I went to see Andrew, and I just come back from vacation. I said, hey, Andrew, let's go see these guys. They just came back.
Because I think you were there when I came in the next day.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that you and Andrew were there in the basement watching them do whatever, and then I came in. So they were probably either just finished or finishing up the game or whatever. But like I said, I saw the last boss. I remember that.
It was just weird because we knock on their door and say, hey, they've been away for the weekend. We didn't know you had gone down to get Fancy Star.
Oh.
Nobody told us. Nobody
They didn't
told
tell
us.
you?
Well,
Oh,
no,
I didn't know that.
remember one thing. We were a bit younger.
You guys were?
A year difference made a big difference back then.
Of course. Like, you didn't hang out with kids who weren't in the same grade, really.
Yeah, especially not even your brother. We're gonna get
We'll
into
get
that.
into that,
We'll get
yeah.
into that too. So I'd seen these commercials for Fantasy Star and I was blown away. Had no idea you guys were together. So there we are at the door, and JD, I think it was JD came to answer the door, and I was over talking, and I'm like, oh my god, and then Jamie came to the door, and here's me ranting like a raving lunatic. I said, I'm like, guys, I said, I saw this commercial for Fantasy Star. Oh my god, it's the greatest thing I've ever seen. Blah blah blah. And then they look at each other and they're like, should we tell him? Should we tell him? And I'm like, tell us what? I said, oh, we have the game in the basement. I'm like, what?
Yeah.
I'm like, can I see it? They're like, oh, okay. I went down. It was like a goddamn circus down. There was so many people over there.
Yeah.
And I said the story. Did you know, you won't know this, that just before the Catos moved out of there, me and Gary, and remember Gary up the street, maybe you don't, and Jamie went back to his parents' old house.
Yeah.
And I filmed the floor and all of there where that's all happened.
Really?
Like it was a religious spot.
Oh, well, it totally was.
It was.
Hours we spent in that place.
Oh my god.
It was insane.
Yeah, watching anime, all that.
Huge backyard of theirs. And like
the tree house.
The tree, well, that huge, and then like we kept filming our version of Billy Kwan in their backyards.
Yeah, all
and
that
stuff.
stuff.
All that stuff.
So much fun.
So I'm glad you did that. So I didn't know that they'd moved out.
Yeah, I think they're moved now. I think they're gone.
Oh, I didn't know that.
So
oh, okay.
Yeah. This is I actually filmed it in 2008.
Okay.
Or 2007.
Okay.
And I just filmed it for myself, and I had the recording. I'm like, I'll put it in the Fantasy Star video. It's the first video I ever made on the channel. Was this.
That basement
was legendary.
Oh yeah.
And all that. And I just remember with me and Andrew seeing Fantasy Star and our jaws hitting the ground, going, you know what it was?
I almost wonder if they had planned that, because they would have known that you would have been all over something like that. I totally would have.
They were also being malicious
because of
terrible.
the age difference. Like, there's a good chance we probably couldn't have taken you across the border. Mm-hmm. Like a really good chance we couldn't have taken you across.
I was 13, 14.
Yeah, there's no way that a bunch of 16-year-olds could take a 13, 14-year-old.
Yeah, like it was just too weird. But to see it, and I was just like, I just want to bring this up. The reason why it was so cool, and you can agree with this, is because, yes, we all played D&D back then. Yes, we would do, make characters, everybody would argue and kill each other, and it was over. But see, that's what made this game great, is that you could play an RPG, and you didn't need to be with your friends. You could actually have that experience.
You could make the decisions.
Which was...
Like, I don't even know if this has any branching paths or not, but you could decide where to go when, you could decide what to buy where.
Yeah, there's a lot more freedom.
You could decide what you were going to equip or what you weren't going to equip. I mean, I remember there were arguments in the back of the truck.
Yeah.
Oh no, you got to equip this. No, I don't want to do it with this sword. Oh, you're an idiot. What are you doing? You can't do it with that sword. Like, you gotta put it.
I know.
No. You did that in your play. I'm doing it this way. Like, screw off. Like, forget it. And yes, of course.
So that
one-player RPG was.
Yeah, it was remarkable. You could do that. I was happy because all I wanted to do was enjoy a game.
Yeah.
But everybody would always argue.
Well, yeah, there was, yeah.
Everybody would kill each other, or some ridiculous thing would happen. God. And then, so I remember, this goes into the D&D stories now, being over at your place, and we'd all be playing D&D, and then Rob would be at the top of the stairs, and and Rob would be he'd be sitting there, and you're like, hey, get out of here.
Yeah.
And Rob wanted to play D&D,
yeah,
and you would not let him.
Not bloody likely.
Not bloody likely. And do you know, Rob remembers that me, and when everybody would be arguing, me and Andrew would go and hang out with Rob and joke around and play with muscle figures and all that kind of stuff. Sure. And all that. And that's where we kind of bonded.
And honestly, that was probably the better way of it happening anyways. Because why would you want to be involved in those stupid arguments over all the rules?
Yeah, I know. And it's funny because he's a younger brother. You're like, you just wanted, what was it? What was it?
Well, so there's a couple different things. One, he's the younger brother. I'm the older brother.
Yeah.
Not sad for that, but also the fact that we were far, far too similar in many ways.
Yeah.
Both ADHD, if you haven't noticed.
Yeah.
Both were really into really nerdy stuff and all kinds of weird things, but and both somewhat immature for our ages. There's no question about that. Kids with ADHD tend to mature more lately, but in terms of so that's where I couldn't be the friendly older brother in some cases, and include him in stuff, because he did drive me nuts, and I drove him nuts. There's no you know, and
siblings. That's what happens.
We had a pretty tumultuous relationship around that time frame and stuff. But it was, you know, like, I mean, it's all different now, of course. Like,
well, of course,
for sure. But like, it was. You know, this is my group of friends. You've got your group of friends. Go do something with your friends.
Yeah.
But the fact that you and Andrew were kind of that bridge. I mean, you guys were a bit younger.
Yeah.
You guys didn't want to deal with all the bullshit that we were going through with, you know, Jerome and me and JD and Jamie and everybody arguing about this rule or that rule. And, oh, well, you know, Critical Hit doesn't do this or it does that, or you can't do this at this time.
The pseudo dragon.
Oh my God, all that crap. Oh yes.
Yeah, I remember that.
Like all that kind of stuff, and then like. Why deal with that? It would probably far better to go off and hang out and do muscle figures. Like, today, I would totally do that. I would take off and go.
Yeah, you just want to go have a good time and all of that. And it's really weird that...
For us, it was a good time, because we were just like... The game was an excuse to get together.
It was.
It always was. And whether we were playing D&D or one of the Palladium games or whatever, like, it was an excuse to get together and shoot the breeze and just hang out. Like, that's what it was.
It's what it was.
Well, at least in my mind. I mean, maybe some of the other guys took it more seriously.
It's really weird that group of people hanging out would only be that way for a certain amount of time. You think that stuff will last forever, and then all of a sudden, everybody's going to different schools and moving on.
People switch, and we're all across the continent now. Like, some are in Ontario, some are down in the States.
Andrew's in California,
right?
you know.
And we're all kind of all over, you know. I haven't been in touch with a bunch. I was actually more in touch with a bunch of those guys when I was living in Japan, as opposed to current day. Like, you know, I had a kid, and like that takes a lot of bloody hours, and I don't do Facebook.
Yeah,
so
I don't do Facebook either.
Right, and so as a result of that, like a lot of them do use Facebook, and that's how they keep in touch. Whereas I don't, and I did use it when I was in Japan because it was a brand new thing. Facebook had just popped up, and it was a way to stay connected, and then all sorts of weird stuff started happening with it, and I just dropped it. And then as a high school teacher, it's probably not a good idea for me to have a Facebook page.
That's a great idea not to be on that, for sure. And we've got to end the episode because it's so long. We could talk forever and ever and ever.
I'll do it again.
Yeah, absolutely. So nice to have you on. And
all good.
We'll have Gord Man back on in the future. This has been a long episode. I hope so. I hope everybody's still around till the end. So anyways, guys, until next time.